I am Karin Conroy, and I am a legal marketing consultant that has been around since the beginning of the internet. And I feel like I've seen it all. And today we're going to talk about AI and marketing with Zack. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, Karin, thank you for being on the show. Just so people know, you've been on the show a couple of times. You're a good friend
bunch of times.
Yeah, you're a good friend of Lawyerist. You've been doing this for a while and been helping attorneys kind of understand this digital media marketing sort of area for a while, and have seen a lot of trends.
Yes, and I think this is a great place to start because here we are in this world of AI and everybody feels like this is all new. But think about where we were back when the internet started, back when we went from HTML websites to WordPress or open source, whatever. And back when COVID hit, like we've seen so many things that were supposed to be these major disruptions in the change of the world and whatever. And at the end of the day, how much changed? Like not 100%.
Yeah, we're talking about directional changes, not like getting on a totally different road.
Right. We are not on Mars. We are not, planting potatoes or whatever that means on Mars.
We won't go too far into the planting potatoes on Mars and Mars. Yeah.
Right. Okay. But I have a client I'm working with now who I have worked with for probably, well more than 10 years, probably 12, 14 years. And when we first started on this more recent project, I was saying, if I look back in my files, because this is the one place in life where I'm a hoarder, is I keep everything digitally. And so I've got all of his stuff from 12 or 14 years ago. If I look at all of that stuff, pretty much none of it applies. Like we get a great logo and that's about it. And even there, like his firm name has changed. So even that we're not using. The technology that we use then, the approach, the style, the messaging, the strategy, which, there wasn't really a thing about strategy at the time. At the beginning of the internet, it was basically take a brochure of your law firm, throw it on the internet, and
slap it there. So it was a big billboard, shiny billboard in the sky as you were driving down the road. Yeah,
and even as internet users, we were much less sophisticated. We didn't know what we were looking for. We thought the answer were these portals like on Netscape, where you log in and you've got your weather and your inbox and you've got blah, 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 like everything coming at you, right? Like
right.
So like let's just think about how far we've come, and we're talking 20-ish years, right? And so AI is just another thing, right? Like let's just kind of boil it down. It's another thing. It's another tool. We are going to use it to its best advantage, but it's not coming for your law firm. It's not coming for your job unless the work that you're doing is on par with a robot. Like, is the work that you're doing on par with a robot? And if so, like, that's a bigger problem.
Right.
So
are you a robot lawyer yourself? And if that's the case, yes, the robot lawyers are coming for your job.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was a problem before AI, though, too.
Right.
Right. That was problematic for you and your law firm and your clients and probably your bottom line anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just start there. And then let's talk about, I've got this 5-step checklist that we're going to crank through.
I think that's the thing. It's like, okay, yes, Karin, AI is here. Yes, it is a tool. Yes, it is a thing that I have to deal with. But when are all of these things that people are telling me overblown? And when is it too little? So like, how do I have a structure for how to deal with this? So,
how do I figure it out? What do I do? And I don't want to be behind. I've got some FOMO. Everybody's talking about it. I kind of like, I went into ChatGPT once and I was a little bit scared. It's so not scary. Like they did a good job of designing it. So it's sort of like the Google thing where it's just like one thing and you just, go in there. Okay. So let's start step 1 of this checklist for how to integrate AI and AI marketing strategy. Step 1 is not to go into ChatGPT. Step 1 is let's start by auditing your marketing funnel. So what is marketing? Marketing is like a growth plan. Marketing is not TikTok. Marketing is not your AI tools. Marketing is a plan for growth, right? So let's look at your marketing funnel, which We spent a whole year on my podcast talking about marketing funnels, but basically at the top is awareness all the way through that client journey and getting to the bottom where you're on that kind of rinse and repeat, right? So the whole, like people call it a client journey. I feel like that's a little too woo-woo for me. And so I call it the marketing funnel, but it is that journey that your client takes through their life with your firm.
And I'd like to just kind of like jump into this really quickly, because when you say, hey, audit your marketing plan, somebody says, well, I don't have a marketing plan. You do. You do. It sucks if you think that you don't have one, but your clients have a journey. Your clients have a funnel that they get into. And just really quickly, Karin, you have a podcast that talks about all of this in depth. And so if people want to dig further into that, they can always go find your podcast.
Yes.
Counselcast. And it's Conroy Creative Counsel.
Yes.
So if they want to go a little bit further, jump into there. Great place to go.
It's amazing.
If you think your clients don't have a journey, then you just have a really crappy journey. Yeah.
Because the journey is like their experience with you. And so whether it's a positive or a negative. And so if you don't want to call it journey because that's like you're like me and you're not very woo-woo, fine. Let's call it their experience. Whatever you want to call it, they are going to have an experience with you. And I love that you brought that up because a lot of firms, when they first start this initial conversation with me, will say, oh, we don't really do marketing. We just get all of our clients by referrals.
That's marketing.
How did you get those referrals? Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's start by saying referrals are a marketing strategy, and I'm using air quotes. But what are you doing for those referrals? Do you have a plan? Do you have a system? What happens, 6 months after they contact you?
Could you get more?
Are your referrals coming from a certain source? What are you doing to encourage and nurture that relationship? This is your marketing strategy. And that's one piece of that whole funnel. So we're not going to go into the whole funnel, but let's take a whole audit of that funnel. And I would say well over 90% of my clients and when they first come into us, there's one piece of that funnel, one level, or, however you want to describe that they are failing at. And it's usually towards the bottom because everybody is thinking about the top. It's like the awareness and the ads and the Google pay-per-click and the SEO, because that's what everybody's talking about, right? And so it's that 80-20 rule. The gold is at the bottom of your funnel because these are people who have already gone through.
I've got these hot leads and I won't call them back.
No, I'm going to go after the cold, harder ones that, are more expensive because Joe down the street is spending a lot of money on pay-per-click and it scares me.
Oh, man. Yeah. The FOMO of what everybody else is doing.
Yes.
Yeah. And so just having an idea of what your marketing funnel, what your client journey, at the very least, how do you get clients? From them not knowing who you are to you signing them up. Yeah. That's what we're talking about.
Right. And then let's also define who those ideal clients are. So let's just that's step one. And, obviously there's lots of data and content and all of that on this part, but we've got a short podcast.
And you've got an entire podcast about this. So yes, there's more to be said here.
Lots more to be said. But the point there is that step one is like looking at your plan and finding the holes. Okay, so that when we get to step two, which is the one everybody is here for and the juicy part and the thing that people jump to before, know that there was a step one that you're missing. Step two is choosing the right AI tools. Okay, so this is the one everybody wants to jump into without a plan, without any thought, and without a strategy or goal or knowing like what they're doing there. So don't do that. Let's be smarter about it.
That's tech selection. In general is, I've got this AI tool. How can I use it, Zach?
Right.
I don't know.
Exactly. And it's like in an elevator. Like, okay, this is not a 1 minute conversation.
I don't know. And frankly, if you haven't done step one here, I don't care.
Right. Because it's going to fail.
You need to plan something. And so really how do we work the AI tool in there? But we could take the word AI out. How do we work the tool in there?
The tool. Exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of what we were saying in the beginning. Like, this is just another tool like everything else that we've used in the beginning. Everybody said that the internet was coming for their jobs. Like, this is not new. Let's calm down.
And now we have jobs that are just the internet.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so we're going to choose the right tool. I have a lot to say about these tools also, and I'm not going to dig into every single detail about the tools. We don't have time for that.
So, suffice to say, you've got opinions on them.
I do. I think about a lot of this stuff. Okay, ChatGPT is amazing if you use it correctly. And here's the lesson to think about and frame the idea of these tools. Think of them as an intern. An intern is not going to get up in front of a judge and argue a case for you, like, a big important thing.
Right.
An intern may put together some talking points. An intern may do some very basic research on the case and give you some background stuff.
Right.
And keep it at that level. And you are not going to take an intern's work and hand it to an important client. You are going to look at it. You are going to review it. You're going to add your 2 cents to it. And that's the wise way to use AI, any of these AI tools.
So when I'm grabbing, I'm like, I need a blog post on family law in Tennessee. I'm not just going into ChatGPT and saying, hey, write me 400 words and then slapping that right.
Bam. You might, but then once again, your job is going to be at risk because your work is at the level of a robot. So, come on, your work and your law firm is worth more than robotic level work. And so if you want to compete and compare and use it as a tool and elevate your own expertise and knowledge, then use it at the level of an intern level. Recognize that it's a tool, it's useful, and we're not going to ignore it or pretend like, it's not useful. But keep it in the box, keep it in a nice safe box of where it's at.
But this is one of those places where we can kind of safely use the open artificial intelligence like ChatGPT, because we're not giving legal advice here. We're using it for marketing. Marketing is a fantastic place to use ChatGPT for content.
Yes.
To start, or something like ChatGPT. There's many other products out there, and there a lot of them are built into the system. Like Canva has artificial intelligence built into it.
I mean, we've been using AI already for years, and ChatGPT is the newest, hottest thing. But people act like we've never had it before. Spell check is AI, and Siri and Alexa and the things in my house are all kind of like blurping on right now as I speak their names. But it's been around for a while now, we all know that even when you've got predictive text in with Siri, you've got to check it. This is something we already know.
If you're my mother, you don't. But yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
But that's exactly it, right? Like, do you want to put your professional reputation at the risk of a spell check thing that you're not checking? I mean, come on, let's just be smart about this stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple tools that I will just kind of list. ChatGPT, Jasper is great for marketing stuff. That's amazing. Surfer SEO is fantastic. Surfer SEO is, it takes content that you're writing for SEO purposes, and it takes it and puts it up against what's out there, gives you a grade, tells you how to improve it. And so it's this real beautiful balance between human written content boosted by AI, not done by AI, but evaluated and boosted and, suggestions offered type of thing.
Well, I think that's one of the pushbacks that I have in my brain about, using AI kind of produced or boosted stuff. It is, am I going to get dinged by
this is a good question.
SEO gods?
Yes.
For putting out something that's really looks like artificial intelligence wrote it.
Yes. Let me come back to this in step 4, because in step 4, I just want to give a little teaser. We're going to talk about SEO and search in relation to AI, because that's the other juicy part. And the 2 steps that everybody thinks that is all encompassing is this one, picking your tools, step 2, and then step 4, which is SEO. But then there's 3 other steps.
And everybody jumps to those 2.
Exactly.
Because they're sexy as hell,
Exactly.
Let's just
not skip step 1. Like that's critical. step 1 and 3 are like the biggest two in my mind. Step 3 is to stay human. Okay, so yes, we're going to take our tools. Yes, we're going to keep it down in the level of an intern. We're going to take all that stuff, take it all in, and then we are going to integrate it into our brand, integrate it into our whole overall content plan. We are going to recognize that your firm is critical in its relationships with other humans. And so we are going to use it to encourage and boost those human relationships, but not replace the human part.
Yes. Okay. So we just did, I just went to a summit, the Women in AI Summit.
This sounds so amazing.
It was in Nashville, and it was, I am so lucky to have kind of been allowed to be a fly on the wall there. Like it was absolutely amazing to see all the stuff that was there. But one of the things that I noticed there is that we have a tendency to just think of like, okay, well, AI, there's its voice, but we have to think about what its voice is, and we can make its voice different.
Yeah.
We can make it interact with us differently. And I think it was specifically like having women talking on artificial intelligence and having a female approach or kind of like a broadly female approach, and talking about how getting the voice of artificial intelligence to be just different.
Yeah.
But on brand. And sometimes your brand is going to need a female voice.
Yes.
If you're a female attorney, and you have to think about, how do I take this robot, this non-gendered robot, but really, like, if it's grabbing information from the internet at large, it's probably relatively biased in a masculine way, which is
and
problematic
generic
in itself. And so its genericness is generally male, and so like we need to think about, how do we take that and make it us.
And this is what sets you apart, because this is what keeps coming up over and over, year after year, in marketing. Everybody just wants to take that generic answer. Anybody can Google personal injury attorney X city, right? And you're going to see a very similar type of message on that first page from one firm to the next. And the one that's going to stand out is something different, right? Like, this is kind of how marketing and messaging works. And this idea, I know, weird. It's like human psychology. But the idea of taking that female voice, I'm obviously a proponent of this, because I absolutely believe that female voices in marketing offer a significant advantage. And this is the way forward. And this is the way, especially for female law firm owners, that your voice, don't try to do this traditional, static, old school male voice. Use your own voice. Tell your stories. This is, another way to be human. Tell the stories, and know what works when you get on the phone with your potential clients. You know what works. You know what they're asking. You know what they care about.
Yeah.
Do that. And then integrate it with AI and have them help you expand, or maybe put together some content around that. But start with your own voice. Start with your own expertise, your own understanding and education, and all of the things that make you unique. And to be honest, this is what Google is looking for too. Have you heard about this EEAT thing? This is going to be my transition into step 4.
Well, but before we do that, just really quickly, talking about female voice and having your voice be, if people look at your website, conroycreativecounsel.com, when somebody thinks, oh, female voice on a law firm, they're going to think pink.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's just what's going to pop up in their head.
Right.
And your website,
there's no pink.
There's no pink.
There's no pink.
Blue. It's a like a slate blue, this beautiful blue. But that's female voice still.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about this Barbie-fication, I guess, of your voice, professional, but the female voice.
Right.
If
so
that's who you are.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about understanding, being more empathetic, coming from a different kind of emotional place, recognizing, and this is the difference that, to be honest, a lot of old school law firms have a hard time transitioning, and they have for the last 20 years since the internet started, transitioning from wanting to slap just the name of their firm on a website and all their awards and the dollar signs versus coming from an understanding of knowing the problem and having the solution and being more empathetic. And this over and over on a daily basis is the challenge for a lot of firms. And for women, it's innate. And obviously I'm coming from a kind of stereotypical position, but it is—
We're not saying everybody, but
no.
in a broad, yeah.
In a broad sense, this is something that typically comes more easy to women, and coming from emotional, speaking to stories and solutions and all of that stuff. And the transition that I wanted to mention is this EEAT thing. This is what Google is talking about. And what that stands for is experience, expertise. Sorry, expertise comes first. Expertise, experience, authority, and trust.
Okay.
Basically, in my mind, the reason I get them all mixed up is they all sort of mean the same thing. Sort of like 4 words of synonyms.
Is this good information?
Do you know what you're talking about? Do you have some experience and expertise in, authority and all of that stuff? And this is what Google's looking for in your content. So coming from the step 3, which is be human and have that experience and authority and expertise and all that stuff, going into step 4, which is AI search, how to optimize for AI search. This is how you do it. And that's why step 3 is so important. It's not just because, once again, it's woo-woo and it makes people feel nice, whatever. No, this is your marketing strategy. This is like once again, the point here is growth. We are trying to make a plan for growth.
This is a cynical conversation. We're doing this because we want to make money. I mean, we want to make money and we want to get more clients. This is not about, so
it's not about giving you guys a big hug. It's just not.
Right.
You guys can do that somewhere else. Hopefully. But okay, so the EEAT, expertise, authority, experience, trust. And I got that in the wrong order again. But it doesn't matter. It'll stick in your brain better. So basically, make sure that what you're writing about, you have an authority on it and you show that over time, and your content is built on this stuff. It's not just regurgitating truck accidents in Baltimore, and it's showing, I understand truck accidents. Here's how I understand. Here's what I've done in the past. I am the authority on this. Here's why. Here's cases I've done. And Google is paying attention to this stuff. The Google searches are so much more complex than they were 20 years ago, where it was in the footer, you just do a whole bunch of keywords and county names, right?
Do you remember when you used to be able to put it in the white? All your keywords were in white in the background and nobody would see it, and you'd go and highlight and you're like, oh, that's why. Okay.
Yeah. Why does this scroll so long? It's blank. It's so weird. And then, burying it in the code too. People did that too.
Oh, man, yeah.
Yeah, Google's way smarter than that, people. These are robots. Let's just recognize that. We are talking about kind of competing with robots. This whole conversation is the AI, but also the Google bots that are coming and reading your site. So it's not just about those keywords anymore. And that's not even what your Google Analytics are going to really be honed in on anymore. There's this big change that happened in analytics last year. And I'm not getting into all of that because it's way too long. But it's
you
about
will get into that on your podcast. And if anybody
we have
wants
a whole
to
episode about it.
Again.
It's called GA4. Yes. Thank you so much. I feel like my traffic is going to just spike. It's amazing. Okay, but the thing to know in step 4 about search and AI is that what you're doing matters. And it's very similar to a strong organic strategy based on content, which is what we've been saying for years, with some tweaks. And those tweaks are, kind of fine-tuned tweaks, but it's mainly take your content and make it more expertise and make it a little bit fine-tuned in those ways. And take a look at your search terms and the words and what comes right after them, because that's how AI works. if you say personal injury lawyer, and then what comes right after that, that's how AI thinks the things are related to each other. Okay. So take a look at that. And that's pretty much the main tip I'm going to say about that. And there's so much more out there that you can do the research on, but know that we're not erasing everything and starting over when it comes to search. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So step 5, review and refine, rinse and repeat every 90 days. You should have a quarterly marketing meeting where you're looking at your whole funnel. You're looking at what you did and where you were at 90 days ago, what happened in the last 90 days, numbers wise. We're not just like going with the feelings again. This is not about feelings. This is about numbers.
We're not just trying to make our website feel good about itself.
Right. And with that, if there's stuff that needs to be toss it. Like, we're not going to feel a certain way about content because like you felt like it should have done better. It didn't. Like, here's what the number's saying. Get rid of it. Move on and keep honing in on what's working.
You have to have thick skin in the content game. You really do.
In marketing in general.
So many things I've been like, oh, this is beautiful. This is my baby. This is a brilliant piece that I've written. And it's like, nobody cares.
Nobody cared. Nobody clicked on it. Okay, like, show your mom and maybe hang it on your wall, but take it off your website. Like, move on.
Yeah. But measure. That inherent in this is measure. And that goes back to the beginning of what was your strategy?
Yes.
What did you want to get out of this? Did you want to get more referrals?
Yep.
Did you want to get more clicks on your PPC? What did you want out of this?
And don't just say leads.
My father, I love him. But my father, I once asked him, he was doing a different business. And I was like, who's your ideal client? And he goes, everybody.
No. No.
Anybody that'll buy it.
Nope. No, that is a recipe for disaster. I've got many podcast episodes about that too. No, it is not. Your ideal client, you should have an exercise where you narrow it down, you give them a name, you give them a whole demographic, but also what is their problem and how can you help? And this is like, for me, when I lay it out, it's part of that definition is these are people who pay on time and, like details like that, not just like, they're this age and they live in this area, like details about how it is to work with them and, what you're looking for. And eventually, once you start taking those initial conversations and you've got that definition, you can look at that conversation and say, is this someone that fits into that definition? And if not, we're going to refer them out because they're going to be a waste of time. And over years and years and years, you realize that it's a painful exercise to say no, but it's always worth it. It's always worth it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I've said no, it's been worth it.
Yep.
Every time I've had that person where I'm like, it's always every
time. I am dealing with one of those right now where it was the holiday season and I was feeling a little generous. And I said, okay, fine. All right. And I'm living to regret that. And so in your gut when you're talking to someone if it's going to be great or not. And, listen to that and know, based on the numbers, when you come back to that review and refine, know what's working. And then just do more of that. And it gets easier when you define that and you go forward and you're not dealing with all of those problematic red flag people that you shouldn't have worked with to begin with.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. Well, 5 steps.
Yeah.
And they can find this.
They can download the whole thing because that was a lot. And there's so much more.
Yes. They can find this and more at conroycreativecounsel.com/lawyerist, right?
That's it. It's a lot of letters, but it should be relatively easy to remember.
Yeah. And we'll put a link in the show notes in case you can't get it. But again, conroycreativecounsel.com/lawyerist. So
that's it.
So before we go, though,
yes.
If someone were to do one thing today, what would you suggest they do?
Figure out your funnel. Really, there is probably a hole somewhere. Find that hole, and that hole equates to money. right? So the whole is something that you're not doing that is going to fill the gap in, whatever needs you need marketing wise. So just take a look. It's not that complicated, but it's one of those simple things that that really everybody needs to do. Look at your funnel.
Love it. Well, the best part about that is that's also step one.
It is. And I've got resources for that.
Exactly.
I'm here for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Karin, once again, thank you so much for your information and your expertise. I really appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure.